What is the best thing about what you do?
The best thing about what I do is the freedom to create in a space that, I feel like I'll never retire. I found something that, like, when I'm done, whenever that is, I'm going to be playing golf and probably taking pictures anyway. Because isn't that what you do when you're retired? So the best thing about what I do is that I'm kind of doing, this is like not work. I'm getting paid to do what I would do if I were retired. That's just stupid.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Whole Story Podcast. We appreciate you guys joining us today. This is Robbie and Jonathan, as always. We've got a very, very special guest, a very talented guest joining us today, and we'll get Jonathan to introduce him in 1 second. First off, quick recap. We got to say congrats to a mutual friend. Our guest knows him very well, but Patrick Koenig has set the world record now for the most number of golf courses played in a year. He did that last week. He hit the 450th course in 200 something days, under 300 days, and he's still going. The next day, he kept playing more golf, so he's still going. Congrats to Patrick on that. I got to play with him at Landman. Got the RGV Tour hoodie, but he's great in the pro ranks. Colin Morikawa won again. He won over in Japan. Minja Lee won in South Korea, and then the Live Tour. Bryson and his team, one of Jonathan's favorites. He's actually, world rankings or not, he's one of the best golfers in the world. Bryson DeChambeau and his team won the Live event in Miami. But again, like we always say, we're not here to talk about pro golf or all that fun stuff. We want to talk to our guests. So, Jonathan, tell us who we got today.
Yeah, so apparently good friends with Patrick, which, by the way, if I play more than 2 rounds of golf in like 2 days, I'm done for a week, as sore as I'd be. I can't imagine 450 rounds. Like, that's insane. But we're introduced to you, Channing Benjamin, the Channing Tatum's cousin, I believe is what he said earlier. If you don't know him, he's a golf course photographer, recognized as one of the preeminent visual artists in the world today. Former international live concert, video, and film director for top music artists. I don't know, maybe Beyonce or something like that. Maybe we'll get some scoops on that later. But his photos have been published in Golf Digest, Links Magazine, Golf Magazine, Australia's Caddy Magazine, The Golfer's Journal, and more. More than likely, because as soon as Robbie and I booked this guy, we started looking up everything. I'm like, oh, I've seen that picture before. I've seen that picture before. So you've probably seen his work if you haven't noticed in the bottom right-hand corner who it was attributed to. He is officially licensed photographer for the Pebble Beach Company and many other public and private courses. And he's also a founder of the Golfography Experience, which we're going to learn more about here today. We're actually pretty stoked about that. So, Channing Benjamin, thank you for joining us on the Whole Story Podcast, man.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be with you both.
Yeah. So I guess our first question is, like, when did you realize you like being on the other side of the camera?
When I got a paycheck, that's when it all started. Before that, I was like, well, this is all for me. Honestly, that's kind of true. It's partially true, but the real truth is that I think all of us play golf in the mornings or in the evenings, and we have that golden hour moment, and we all want to capture it. And cell phones back in the day were the way to do it. And I used to just, come back home after a great day and try to relive my experience through my photos that I took. And that's kind of when it hit me. Like, I love doing this. And if there's a way to get paid to do it at the same time, I'm in.
So, how did you, I guess, realize, or how did you get that message out or those photos out that suddenly got you that paycheck?
It was through social media, to be honest with you. That's my timing was impeccable with posting photos. And the true story is that I actually was posting for myself. So when I signed on to, I don't want to date myself, but when I signed on to MySpace, and then I moved from MySpace into Facebook a little bit, and then got into Instagram. When I got into Instagram specifically, I thought it was like a free cloud service. So I was like, you know what? I had a couple friends on there. I saw the thing, it would pop up with like people you know and all that stuff. But I would like, I had like all these pictures, and I was like, I don't have anywhere to put them. I'm just gonna dump them to the cloud through this Instagram thing. Next thing I know, I'm getting DMs from my friends go, dude, you are killing me. You're blowing up my feed. You're posting every 5 seconds. I was like, oh, I didn't get it that this is kind of like how it works. Like you need to gradually, but through the posting of those images, I started to get a ton of feedback. And then we're talking like 2014 or 15, somewhere in there. And there were only a couple of us out there doing this. I remember literally like 3 or 4 people that I saw posting photos. Patrick Koenig was one of them, and he and I became friends through Instagram because we were kind of like, I don't want to say pioneers in golf social media posting, but we were there before a lot of people. And you know, my work was getting shared by major groups, Golf Digest, all the names that you mentioned before. And then people started reaching out and saying, "Hey, is that picture for sale?" Or, "Hey, have you shot Sand Hills?" Or, "Have you been to like these places?" And I'm going, there were a lot of no's. You know, I kept saying, "I haven't been there, I haven't been there," and I'm thinking, like, you know, maybe this is a little side action for me. So that's kind of when it hit me. So I would say 2017 is when I really started probably generating some income.
Did you have a camera at that point? Did you have to go out and kind of get a camera?
I did
What
not.
did you get?
No, I was a Galaxy Samsung guy. And it was like, and it was the thing, man. I would take some really great photos with my cell phone. And there was no, I was literally posting on social media. So there's no need to go invest in some equipment that I don't know how to use, first of all.
Sure.
So I, back in the day as a video director, had a lot of cameramen that worked for me, and I would direct shots from we talked about him from Indiana. I was the video director for the Indiana Pacers program, and I would do in-house live multi-camera shoots. And I'm telling camera guys what to shoot, and all I know is I had an engineer next to me, and I would be like, "Dude, it's too hot. It's too bright. It's too." I wouldn't tell them the exposure is too high. Like I would never use any words that I just knew what I was looking for in the shots. So you know, with the camera thing, the cell phone was working great for me for golf course photography. And what people I think really gravitated toward was that it wasn't too pro looking. It was something they could relate to. It was player perspective stuff. So I'd be out of this Friday in the bunker, and I just get in there and take a picture of it, right? And it was just, I mean, I would take a cool picture, but it was a gnarly shot. And most people can relate to that, and I would just post that, you know, and so it wasn't like some amazing sunset or sunrise photo, but you know, as technology, like, well, my mom actually, she had a Costco, like a Nikon D3000 something. It had like, it was a Costco thing, it was a kit thing, had two lenses. And I remember I took my kids with my mom to SeaWorld. My mom had this camera. She didn't know what she was doing with it. I was like, let me see that thing. So I started like messing around with it, and I saw the results, and I was like, and it was super easy. It was auto guy. It was like auto everything. She gave me the camera, and then things changed a little bit. I kind of like started just shooting with that, and then it snowballed from there. But that was again, that was all that happening was like 2017-ish. So not too long ago. But technology's changed greatly since then, and like drone stuff. So I ended up actually in 2016, I think I got my first drone. So we can talk about that if you want. That changed the whole game, right?
Do you remember the first course or the first hole that you took a picture of that, or the first one that, and the next one would be which one did you first get paid for? That's what you said. That's whenever you realized.
Yeah. Um, the first one I got paid for was Arnold Palmer's course in the desert called Tradition. So it was his home. He obviously is at Bay Hill in the West Coast and in Florida, and his other home in California was at Tradition Golf Club. It's one of the most beautiful golf courses I've ever played. I'd ever been on, and I had some relationships there, and I was commissioned to photograph that place, and I was like, oh my God, that was like, it was a huge deal because that's the King's, you know, that's his spot, right? And I'm not crazy. I figured if I would do a good job with that, lot of people would see it because it was not in my local muni where it wouldn't get any notoriety, and those images I created would probably end up somewhere, which they did. That was my first paid gig. What was the other question?
What was the first time you pulled out your phone and thought, I'm gonna take a picture of this golf course?
Oh man, that would have been at Cypress Point at Pebble Beach. So very fortunate. I've played Cypress Point many, many times, like many times. And it's for the last 20 years, I've probably played a couple times a year, right? So in the early stages of that, I remember specifically that, and I say that because I've never been to a golf course. That was my first like mind-blowing experience on a golf course. I remember shooting some photos and then also creating this video for me and my buddies that went, it was a cheesy video. When I look at it now, it's so funny, but it's still, I put something together because it was an incredible experience. And that was in 2004 or 5, maybe something like that. And yeah, so I remember that. So, I mean, we had cell phones back then.
Yeah.
Grainy, terrible looking. I'm trying to figure out when cell phones actually came into play. I think it was like late 90s, right? 98, maybe.
The first mobile Motorola 550 VGA camera, because I sold cell phones, was 2004,
Yes, let me hear this. This is
2005.
huge.
And then the first
So it
iPhone
was
was released in 06 or 07, like June of 06, I think.
Wow. So
Yeah.
it was not in the late 90s. I remember having a
Oh,
pager, but I remember recording. It's so funny that time period, we transitioned quickly, right?
Yeah.
There was this like gap there, but I remember I was still shooting stuff though, and I must have had like a high 8mm cameras. I remember
right.
having those and little stuff like that, and I think that's what I recorded some stuff with on a golf course. But anyway, so yeah, it was probably 2005. I probably shot my first cell phone photo.
So what kind of camera gear are you using now? You said obviously you got a drone, but you have brands that
I
you try
have
to stick with, or how does that work?
I do. So I've experimented with everything. I'm never formally, which is bizarre, and this is I'm going to say this. I'm not embarrassed by this. I've never formally been approached by a vendor to be like an ambassador, and I think it's because I do golf. I think if I was like in the world of portrait photography, or I notice a lot of these like Canon ambassadors and Sony, they all shoot like there aren't a lot of landscape golf photographer ambassadors, like zero. So I think actually that would be cool. I think they need to approach me. But I did have a relationship with a lens maker, Tamron, and they did a couple nice articles and stories on me, and I got some gear from them. But I've ended up with Nikon, and the way that works is once you like find a camera body you like, you end up investing in lenses or glass, and that's very expensive. And then you end up with like all these lenses that only work for that brand, right? So it's hard to like make a switch because you're gonna eat it pretty heavy. You're gonna take a bath on the equipment, but not just for that reason. But I've been very happy with like the internal image stabilization on those cameras. I shoot handheld mostly. I'm usually rolling around. I create a lot of images when I do photo shoots, more than a lot of people. I'm not an old school tripod guy sitting there getting like 5 shots every hour. I'm like rolling in a cart, flying drone, shooting camera. So I got to have pretty steady camera situation, and that has worked well for me. Others have not. So I got a bunch of Nikon stuff.
Yeah, and you got into the drone world as well. So what do you said that kind of changed the game for you a little bit. Talk about that.
Yeah, because bird's eye views were not too common with golf course photography. Obviously, you see some helicopter stuff where people are hanging out the side, and you get some pretty high resolution, cool shots. But the drone images were and are amazing. I got through a friend. He kind of turned me on to that whole drone thing, and I was a little leery because I'm not a real techie guy. Like I was trying to tell you, like the equipment thing, I don't want to get too invested in the equipment side because I tend to lose my creative, and I end up getting technical and missing the shot because I'm worried about aperture and worried about, exposure settings. I'm worried about flying a drone and running into something. So I end up losing the creative thing. But that's all gotten better over time because, like with the drone, they're super safe now. A lot of people can use them, but the main reason I kind of went there is because I started shooting for resorts, and resorts, they want that look, but they also require an FAA license. You can't just go, you can't, if you're going to get paid any amount of money from any commercial work, you have to have a license. So I had to study for this FAA Part 107 unmanned aerial vehicle license, which was a little nerve wracking. It wasn't what I thought it would be, like protractors and like, air, maps. And like, I was like, I'm just shooting golf courses for God's sake. I'm not gearing to fly over Manhattan and do some tower inspection, but you need to learn like all these things. So getting through that part was huge though, because a lot of people don't want to do it. And it was, I don't know if it is now, but it's kind of a tough thing to pass. Um, but having that license has afforded me the opportunity to confidently go to a client and say, you're covered, you're secure, my insurance liability, my FAA license, my experience, gives me I'm a step ahead of a lot of guys, and gives them the insurance to know that I'm going to crush it for them. They don't have to worry about it. So Pebble Beach, for example, is a big one. I got my license as a photographer for them back in 2018 or 17, 2018. It was a big deal for me. That place is heaven on earth. Pebble Beach, if you've never been there, has obviously great golf courses, but they have a particular microclimate that changes often. You'll be socked in with fog one day, but like maybe a mile down the road, there's like sun shining through. But it changes, it moves. So like shooting there for as long as I have now, I've gotten some incredible images. And then obviously shooting with the drone up there, it's a big deal to be able to do that. They don't allow people to do that. It's a resort, right? So they want the peace and the tranquility. They don't want to hear drones flying through there. So there's a process to be able to do that. And having that license and having all that other stuff has just allowed me to do it. And it's killer. I got some great shots from there.
So if someone were wanting to say get into golf photography now, what would your first word of advice be?
Don't quit your day job. That would be my first word. I mean, honestly, it's tough, dude. I mean, it's like, I mean, I won't say it's like anything else, but all of my work, fortunately, has been relationship based. I've never gone out cold calling some country club and going, "Hey, I'm a golf photographer. Do you need pictures?" It's never been that. It's always been word of mouth referral. Hey, this guy, kills it. You need to, if you guys are going to do something, you need to like, and that is huge for me. But it's a small, first of all, there's like different types of golf. There's municipal golf courses, public courses with very small budgets. There's like very high-end country clubs with deep pockets. You got to count, and most of those gigs are relationship based and experience based too. I've had clients recently that hired me just because my name is out, and people know who I am, and I was like, look, I mean, they didn't say I guess they like what I do, but that was like that was one of the reasons why they had a couple names and they want it's a big name club, but they wanted some big name artists to photograph their place. So, it's tough, but once you get in there and you can afford to do it, you have to be able to afford to do it. I did a lot of other things while I was raising my kids. I have a 15-year-old son and a 12-year-old daughter. And, that's the most important thing for me. I mean, freelancing is not going to work in that situation, And so I had a day job while I was honing in my craft. I was actually a general manager of a golf retail store while I was doing a major retail store, not a little one. But while I was doing, so I had two jobs for like 10 years. And people are like, how on earth did you have time to do both? Well, I made it work. I just, all my evenings were editing at night. All my days off were shooting at clubs. And so that's my advice, I guess, to somebody just getting into it. One thing I would say is to to kind of find your niche in the photography world. Like if you're going to do golf course photography, like narrow it down to how are you going to shoot players? Are you going to shoot landscape? I mean, you got to be like kind of a specialist at something. And I think people know me as a specialist in like landscape golf photography. I don't shoot a lot of players. However, my big breakthrough on that end was I shot the US Open this year in Los Angeles for the Los Angeles Country Club. I was the only person commissioned to do so. It had nothing to do with the USGA, or this was the club hiring me to photograph the U.S. Open for them in a member's perspective, like kind of behind the scenes. And I got to shoot inside the ropes players, and that was cool. So it kind of diversified my portfolio a little bit. I don't know if I'm not that guy. Like it was cool, but I couldn't see like running around with that big monopod with this. But it was like not that it was a lot of work, but it was a grind. But it didn't give me like that. It didn't give me the fulfillment like I get when I'm on the course by myself creating landscape images and looking for other shots. The golden hour. I never got that like wow factor, but I got some incredible pictures, and it was a good experience.
I think you just said you were bored taking pictures of the U.S. Open at the LA Country Club. I mean, it was okay, but I'd much rather be somewhere.
I wasn't bored, that's for sure. I didn't mean to come on that. I was far from bored. I actually shot from Sunday to Sunday, from daybreak to dusk. I mean, I was definitely not bored. I have thousands of images. It was more like a monotonous thing, kind of.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was. It was just kind of like felt like the same program every day. It was tough because you got to find out who's winning and who's leading and who. Like for me, it was hard to know who to focus on because there's a lot going on. I don't have headset on with like USG. Like I'm not following the tournament through some sort of corporate network thing, but it was just the monotony of it. I would do it again, maybe in that arena. It was very controlled, and I knew what I was supposed to be shooting, and it was cool. Don't get me wrong. It was totally cool. I literally hung something up in my office today. Where I actually framed. I did a magazine for the country club too, ahead of it. Gil Hance is a golf course architect. You probably know who he is. I'm fortunate to work with him quite a bit. He restored the Los Angeles Country Club North Course, and we did a magazine, which is the North Course has never seen before because no one has ever seen it. It's a very private club, and I did this whole 100-page book with images of what Gil restored. And there's one page that's got a quote from me about my experience, and right next to it is a quote from Gil about his experience. So that's super cool. So I framed that thing and put it up on the wall. It's pretty rad.
I imagine you have met just incredible people, right? And all that you do. I mean, Gil Hance, right? You drop that name and everybody knows who that is. You mentioned going to LA Country Club and having them as a client, Pebble and all this stuff. Does that just, become, oh, well, because they are normal people, but, to people that aren't doing this all the time, it's like starstruck, right? And man, I'm too scared to point and click because, yeah.
It's it's pretty normal, and I don't say that like taking it for granted, but I'm in that space. And like you said, in my past, I mean, I was a video director for NSYNC and Britney Spears and Pink and these big names. I was a concert video director at a major venue who I've directed shows for the Allman Brothers, for Prince. I had lunch with Dave Matthews. I've been around like a ton of people, and in the end, people are just people, right? I mean, and they are unique, and they're all unique in their own way. Gil and I hit it off on a personal level, though, outside of like he really respects what I do. But I'm a big fan of the Grateful Dead, and so is he. And so we've gone to Grateful Dead shows together. He and I drove up to Diamond not too long ago, went and saw this show. So it's more than just there's some relationship there too, which makes it more normal, I think. I do value all the people that I meet, and everybody has an important role in developing who I am. I don't take anything for granted. I'm so grateful for the ability to network with people, because I'm telling you, most of my work has come through word of mouth and like grassroots marketing. And that's, if I was a little hermit, like, I mean, I talk to people, I know how to work it a little bit. I don't overdo it, but it's a part of the sales is also a part of the program, and I have a little sales background running like, that store and stuff like that, and then running my own business. So I am, there are other people that I'd like to meet. There's a lot I haven't done. There are a lot of places I haven't been to. But so here's the difference between Patrick and I, for example. As I'm a scratch golfer, proud of it, worked hard. I'm a plus point oh one. I'm not playing to that, but that's what my number is. I'm probably playing to like a 4, actually. But I play around a lot. But I'm not like, I don't have this I don't have this bucket list of like courses I want to check off. I don't have a bucket list of like courses I want to shoot. Like a play or shoot. I'm not that guy, and so I don't have like this world record I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to like get out there. I mean, like, and that's why I think it's kind of a disadvantage a little bit, because maybe I would have, if I had a little bit more grind that way, I would have been to Australia by now. Australia is one place where I have been invited by a couple people. I'd love to photograph like Royal Melbourne. There's some places in Africa, in South Africa, Port Elizabeth. There's some courses that like I would love to go do it. But I'm just like waiting. I'm kind of waiting for those things to arise. Like everything in my life has been kind of like it's just been happening in its own time and at the right time. And so like rushing things to happen has never been my thing. I do definitely want to play Pine Valley at some point. I want to play Augusta. I'd like to shoot them, but I'm not that guy though. So that's where I'm a little bit different. I get a lot of phone calls, dude. Have you shot you know, no, I haven't been there. And now I'm at the point where I'm not even going unless someone's paying me. Probably, I'm not just going to go shoot. I'm not going to take a trip to Wisconsin and try to shoot 10 golf courses. I'm just not. This is not even in my program. But someday that'll happen. I'm trying to take on projects now versus like shoots, and I've been fortunate enough to be on one. I'm gonna just put this out there. There's a club called Ladera Golf Club. It's here in Thermal, California. It was built by Gil Hance and Jim Wagner. It is funded by Irving Azoff and Eddie Q. So if you look those two guys up, Irving Azoff is an icon in the entertainment world. Eddie Q is the second, like in charge of Apple, basically. And they're two great guys. They love the game of golf. But for a couple of years, I've been working with them, documenting the creation of this golf course. And we're going to do a book in the end. And I have some of the most unbelievable photos of any place I've ever taken. I'm kind of got like a non-disclosure thing. I can't put them out on social. People have not seen any of them. Gil posted a couple of my images from there. He did one post announcing the name of it. If you look at his Instagram feed, that was back in the day. But if you see it now, it's just stunning. But those are the kind of projects that I'm after that are kind of like retainer, long-term, not one-off. Because, one thing you can tell anybody looking to do golf course photography is that, if you don't create something out of it, it's a one and done. You're going to shoot that course and then what? You're going to shoot like there's nothing there. So anyway,
Well, yeah,
hopefully
kind of
that
like we
answered
said,
your
no, but like we told you about our podcast, like we love golf stories and golf related stories. And I mean, the way you describe doing a project is you want to help tell a story. It's not just, hey, let me go take a picture. It's a nice, pretty day. Like you want to help with this course that's being done. Like, let's tell a story of the creation of this thing. And you want to be a part of that from, like Jonathan mentioned earlier, from behind the lens and your artistic way of doing it to help tell the story.
Yeah, what's better? I mean, I can't think of anything that I would want to do outside of that. That is and before, I mean, that's like a mature statement for me now as a photographer. Back in 2016 or 17, I'm just trying to get it. I'm just trying to shoot the course. I'm not the story. What story? Now there is a story with that. Well, I mean, and plus, how many times do you get to like shoot a course that's being created?
Yeah.
Fortunately, there are a lot of restorations taking place on golf courses all over the country, and I've been able to kind of get in on that a little bit, and I can see a lot of that going on too, because of course, it looked like that for 50 years. If they change it, it needs to be re-photographed. So, yeah, but that's the goal. Give me some long-term projects and create some stories and create some books. I can't wait to share. Hopefully, I'll be able to share that when it's ready. It'll be a couple years before it's done, but it's pretty special.
You've also started the golfography experience. Apparently, if I decide I want to pull out my iPhone and become a golf photographer, you're going to give me tips. Is that right?
Yeah, sort of. I mean, so that came about from people DMing me saying, dude, you're living the dream. How do you get out of these wonderful courses? Can I just be your lens caddy? I get this whole lens caddy thing all the time. And I'm like, I can't take you out there. Plus, my wife's my lens caddy now. But it's like, what can I do to incorporate some of these people who want to get in on that experience of living the dream that I'm living? And I was like, would people be into doing a workshop? I put a poll on Instagram and my stories for in 2019, and people go, hell yeah, we're in. Let's do that. And so I enlisted the help of Patrick and Matt Cardis, Golf in Your State. I don't know if you follow him, but I told those two guys, listen, let's do this little event. It's like a one-off. Let's do like a golf and photography workshop, like a golf experience. Oh, the golfography, like golf and photography. Let's do that. And I was lucky to get Rams Hill, which is in Borrego Springs, beautiful golf course, total vista, like in the Anza National Forest. It's a crazy place. But got them to host us, and it went awesome. We had about 10 people show up. They all wanted to be a part of it for the weekend, and we did that thing. And then so then I created a few more of those, and I like, this is now this could be like what I could retire doing this. I could go all over the world picking a weekend at Royal Dornoch or at Royal Melbourne at one of these amazing golf courses that could be a stay and play and do this kind of thing where and so it got better. We've done like 10 of them now. And through COVID, it was tough, obviously, getting someone to host a bunch of people at for this kind of experience. But what we do is we have a sunrise and sunset photo shoot on Saturday. On Friday, we have a meet and greet party. Saturday, we do the sunrise thing. We play a round of golf, and I do interact with people there. Not everybody there's a photographer. Some people just want to hang. I usually have a couple influencers there, usually a couple hot chicks. That's not really the goal, but that's what it's been. It's been a hot chick and everybody. So we have a couple of influencers. We might have a couple of people in the business, like doing, I don't know, like media people. We've had like Matt Janella was a guest. He's been with ESPN forever. He's now with Fire Pit Collective. He has his own thing. He came in and did this like workshop. I've had, Katie Kearney. I've had Brian Morgan, who's a legend golf photographer who has photographed every freaking golf course in Europe you can think of. He brought a book. He had his own book. He brought a book, gave it to everybody. Inside the book, like the opening thing is like a letter from the Queen saying how cool Brian is. I thought that was crazy. But we've had a little bit of everybody there to make the experience different. And it's been great. So long term, that is the play for me, to kind of create more golf photography workshops, golfography experiences all over the world. I've had people in Australia, I've had people in Europe say, when are you bringing that to us here? Because we'd like to, get in on that. So stay tuned. We have a golfography experience Instagram page, not a bunch of followers, but it's growing. We're not trying to grow it. It's just going to grow organically, but it's cool.
When's the next one?
Well, we just finished so it's always one at a time. So I just finished at Reynolds Lake in Lake Oconee in Georgia.
Not
2
far
weeks
from
ago,
Jonathan.
we had our last.
Just an hour and a half away.
We had an epic golf. I mean, we really did. Everybody there Loved it. It was a small, intimate, like 10 people. We crushed it. So that was cool. Dormy Network has been a really good partner for us. They have a stay and play kind of thing. They have cottages at their 7 or 8 properties. We've been able to host a golfography experience at each one of those properties now. So I'm in contact with them to maybe revisit. Like in Indiana, there's Victoria National. That's where we had an event. Everybody loves it. Difficult golf course, but really great property. Hoping to do something in the summer, maybe something in the spring here in the desert in Palm Springs. So hopefully that's the next one, actually.
Well, you mentioned
Well,
you are a pretty good golfer. We always ask our guests to tell us the story of your best golf shot.
Oh boy. Well, I mean, so I've had 3 hole-in-ones. That has to be one of my best golf shots. I mean, I can think of a lot of great fairway wood shots, but I made a hole-in-one by myself one day. So I'm going to put that in there as and this was at Ballyneal in Holyoke, Colorado. So Ballyneal's been a client. I've been photographing for them since 2016. Um, I was out there a few years ago by myself on the 5th hole. The ball flies far in Colorado, very far. I had like 160 yards. I hit 9 irons, a little downwind too. And I saw it go in. One hop went in. Of course, I'm by myself, so I had my cell phone. So I start recording me running up to the to the green, and I remember getting to the hole, and there was a big old cricket inside the cup that was so big. They get some big bugs in Colorado out in the middle of nowhere. He was like, I could barely see the golf ball. This big cricket. And I'm not like freaked out about bugs, but I wasn't feeling putting my hand in there getting the ball. So I was like, "Come on, buddy, come on, buddy." I have it all on camera, right? I'm like, "Come on, buddy." He was my witness. We actually claimed that he was the witness to my hole-in-one, but hole-in-ones are good. They're lucky. I've hit a lot of good shots that haven't gone in, and of the other two that I did I made a hole-in-one with Will Smith. That was pretty good. That was my first hole-in-one. That was in 2005 at a place called Tierra Hada in LA. And then I had another hole-in-one here at the Madison Club, and I had a couple witnesses with that. So 2 of those were the 5 iron too, by the way. So that's my lucky club. So there you go.
That's
a
some distance right there.
A hole-in-one by yourself
Yeah.
and Will Smith. Those are pretty far
Yeah,
end
those
of
are
the
bizarre.
spectrums, right?
They are, but they're legit. They count.
That's
They
awesome.
definitely count. All right. So we ask everybody, we do this thing called a quick 9. We do kind of a rapid fire. You can expound
Yeah.
on any of these answers you want, but we'll start with this. What is the favorite course that you have played?
Cypress Point.
It's got to be, right? Like you mentioned that earlier. I'm like, you have played all the we asked the bucket list question to everybody pretty much, and everybody is either Augusta or Cypress. We'll get some Pine Valleys in there as well, but yeah, you're gonna make a lot of people jealous with the amount of time you played that.
Well, listen, let me tell you about that. I appreciate every round. I played I never walk out there like popping my. It is like I played there 3 days in a row one day. I'll tell you this story. I gotta tell you, this is a good one. I have not played there 3 days in a row before, and every single day it was like I'd never played there before. I was like so happy to be out there loving life. I birdied number 1, 2, and 3 in a row in my 3rd round that I played there, and I actually lipped out on number 4. But
you froze on us for a minute.
Sorry, I was probably just too excited about Cypress Point.
Somebody at Cypress jammed your line there.
Yeah, exactly. So don't give it up. There's nothing to give up except for it's one of the most beautiful golf courses I've ever played. I mean, the 17, everybody says it's a great 17-hole golf course because number 18 is a really interesting hole. And I can see where people get frustrated with that, but I'll take it any day of the week.
In perfect conditions, what is the most photogenic golf hole?
I mean, number 7 at Pebbles, pretty daggone good. I mean, it's the par 3. It's iconic. In perfect conditions is like, oh my God. it's as special as any other hole on the wall. I mean, it's more special. I mean, Stillwater Cove has its own little vibe up there, but you know, I say that though because people know that. I mean, I could tell you about a course in Boca Raton that there's a beautiful, but no one knows that hole. So I'm just going to tell you number 7. It's epic.
All right. Would you rather hit the perfect golf shot and get, let's say, a hole in one, or capture the perfect golf photo?
Oh, good question. You guys are on that right there. Um, can I do both? It's one or the other.
I feel like the
You're the
rules
guest. You
say
can decide.
you can't decide, but you should
I
probably
mean,
pick one.
I mean, the photo of the
if I
cricket
if
in the
I
hole is the picture of the perfect golf shot, right?
that is, see, there you go. I think I'd rather hit the perfect shot, believe it or not, because that's like, getting struck by lightning. It's hard to, golf is tough. You can take a picture. A lot of people can just take a photo. Hitting that shot in the right pressure and that it's tough. And I think I get a pretty good feeling out of doing that.
What is the funniest or oddest thing that you've seen on the golf course while taking pictures?
The funniest or oddest thing I've seen. Oh, you guys got me on that one. I'm gonna have to actually, I don't know. This isn't the oddest, but it's pretty odd. I did a photo shoot for the Department of Parks and Recreation of Los Angeles. So they wanted the all of the municipal golf courses to be photographed. They've never been professionally photographed. These are iconic places like Rancho Park, the most public played golf course in America, and like, but actually, I don't know if I should even tell this story. You know what? I'm going to pass on this story. I don't want to give this story. I'm going to tell you guys later. I'll tell you guys later. I shouldn't go there. You guys caught me off guard.
Yeah.
I was going to breach someone's trust there. I shouldn't be talking about
You never
that.
know what happens
Move
on the
on.
quick nine. Yeah. All right. Next question then. Dream foursome. Who would you want to be in your group?
Tiger Woods for sure. Arnold Palmer for sure. My dad for sure, and probably my son. That'd be
Okay.
a pretty good group. That's too
Sorry.
many, I know, but we
No.
can do 5 something, right?
You
Yeah,
wherever
that's
you
fine.
Uh,
want to play, you can do a foursome. Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll do a 5 something. I gotta pull my boy in on that. He'd
Yeah.
love that.
So you mentioned you were down at a tournament in Cabo. It's where I fell in love with tacos on a golf course. We ask this question all the time. What is your favorite course, food, or snack?
Favorite course food or snack? I'm a big fan of the burger dog. I don't know. I mean, there are a lot of burger dogs, but in San Francisco, the Olympic Club has an iconic burger dog.
What?
I mean,
Your
it's
boy
a hot
Patrick.
dog bun. Oh, is he a
We
burger
had
dog guy?
we had Patrick on here and he said, "Oh, the answer is the burger dog at the Olympic."
See, well, you know what? There you go. So well, great minds think alike, I guess.
Couple
That's
Indiana guys, right?
yeah, he's an Indiana guy. That's right. I forgot. That's a pretty good one, man. It's hard to beat. I've had Wagyu beef burgers before on golf course, but the burger dog is iconic and it's special, and crush it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Another favorite. You've been a lot of places. Do you have a favorite golf course logo?
I do. So the Dormy Network actually has a logo. If you look it up, it's just a flag. It's a simple, like
Yeah.
red, black, and white stripe flag. I love that logo. I mean, I've seen a lot of like confusing, like artistic logos but that one right there, I mean, I have a lot of Dormy Network swag because it just means golf, right? You don't even need to know where it's from. So I like the Dormy Network logo.
Okay. Good choice.
You did say you don't necessarily create a bucket list, but is there a golf course that's at the top that you haven't been to yet that you know you want to get to for either playing or taking photos?
I would say Augusta. I mean,
Have you been
Pine
before?
Valley, I have been, and I've photographed. I have some great images from there. I did it with Ping Golf, probably 6 years ago. But Pine Valley is up there. The reason I don't ever really say Pine Valley is I've never even been on the property, and I know the moment I'm on the property, everything changes. I've heard nothing but incredible things. There's a reason why it surpasses those two in rankings all the time. And so either one, flip a coin.
All right. Final question on the quick nine. What is the best thing about what you do?
The best thing about what I do is the freedom to create in a space that, I feel like I'll never retire. I found something that, like, when I'm done, whenever that is, I'm going to be playing golf and probably taking pictures anyway. Because isn't that what you do when you're retired? So the best thing about what I do is that I'm kind of doing, this is like not work. I'm getting paid to do what I would do if I were retired. That's just stupid, but it's much appreciated, and it is like the greatest thing for me to be able to know that one day I'm never gonna hang it up. I'm just gonna just keep doing what I'm doing. So it's good.
That's
That's
awesome.
great. Yeah. Well, listen, Chaney, really appreciate your
Yeah.
time tonight talking through all this. Amazing stuff. If you haven't checked it out, it's channingbenjamin.com. You can check them out on social media, Channing Benjamin Photography. We'll make sure to post and everything for your Twitter, Instagram, all the other social media stuff, MySpace, if we need to. For those of you still rocking the Motorola 550, the VGA camera is in play, according to one of the greatest golf photographers in the world. You can definitely start your career that way. So for Channing, for Robbie, I'm Jonathan with the Whole Story Podcast. Thank you, listener, for staying with us.